Hello and welcome to Dr. Gakman's Nintendo Power Checklist. This is for the year 2002. In this year, you will see a lot of posters. For whatever reason, they cut back on a lot of different things, but they especially seem to really focus on posters. All of the posters and centerfolds were perforated this year. Like with previous years, I did remove the posters so that you can see the front and back of them, but I did not remove the centerfolds. They're still attached to the magazines. This is January, which is volume 152. It's Pikmin. I'm not too sure. I don't think that this is a glow-in-the-dark cover, but it is a wraparound cover. So this is the front cover, and then there's the back. It wraps around, and then here's the inside front cover, which has a message about Pikmin from Shigeru Miyamoto, and also it has the newsstand edition cover. Now the newsstand edition cover, as far as I know, it either looked like this or it also had a Pikmin logo right here, and of course the barcode in the lower left hand corner next to the grab it. But other than that, there was no difference, so I don't have that volume. I don't have that I don't have that one because I didn't really see a point in having both of those covers. One, the subscriber edition also included basically the what do you call it, the newsstand edition. And then on the back cover, inside cover, was Pikmin. So there you go. And this didn't have a centerfold, but it had a perforated tear-out poster. And it was a calendar, but it was also a challenges calendar because it has a bunch of challenges that you can complete throughout the year in Wave Race Blue Storm. So here's the front of the calendar, which is the first 6 months, goes to June, and then July to the end of the year is the back end of the poster. But on the front end, you'll see that the front of the racers, and on the back, you will see the back of the racers as they're racing away from you. So there's that. I'm going to pause this video here, if it'll let me. Had to pause the video because I forgot to include this picture. I had taken it before, but then I made mistakes, and I gotta take them in the right order, otherwise they don't show up in how I do this in a slideshow style. But this is at the back of January was some memory card labels and some stickers that were Nintendo Power, Nintendo GameCube themed. So there you go. Pausing this again to go back to the your regularly scheduled pictures. Now we are back to February, and this is volume 153, February 2002, NBA Courtside, featuring Kobe Bryant, although it doesn't say that on there. I don't think that they said the featuring until they got to the second one, Courtside 2. I'm not too sure about that. Rest in peace. Anyways, so yeah, this is the cover. And on the inside was Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. A lot of advertisements for bikes in this year, so whatever. There was the top 10 reasons you will love Sonic Adventure 2. So they got, 10, 9, 8. This must have been kind of a play on the whole top 10 list that Dave Letterman had, and or the night show, late show battle that was going on, which, I was a part of. I was already out of high schools. Well, even during high school, I was really into it. But once high school was already over, I was really watching them late, but the Space Ghost was the one that was winning for me. That's all beside the point, but, you know, top 10 list. Now we are actually at Sonic Adventure 2 Battle on the cover of March 2002. And there you go. You got Crash Bandicoot coming over to Nintendo platforms. It's pretty crazy. And on the back of that, there is a fake or faux pas or whatever you want to call that interview with Crash himself. Fitting with the theme of the previous year or two in Nintendo Power Magazine, the front of the centerfold matched what was on the back of the centerfold, meaning it was either tips or interviews or details or strategies or maps or whatever for the game that was being featured on the front of the centerfold. So Crash and Crash, in other words. There was a greeting card. You couldn't take it out, at least not to my knowledge. Maybe it was bound in there too much. That was kind of wedged, attached in to the binding on the inside of the magazine. It was from Midway. With you, Foreplay takes on a whole new meaning. And it's 4 players in Gauntlet Dark Legacy, which is a freaking awesome game, by the way. And an entirely different spelling. Foreplay, get it? Anyways, I'm not gonna finish that card, but that's the back end of the card. So it was kind of like as if it was a greeting card, but you know, it was an advertisement for Midway's Gauntlet Dark Legacy. Also an advertisement for Midway. As you can see here, Midway was Spy Hunter on the Tear Out poster. And so there was a centerfold and a Tear Out poster. And then this is, you know, more about Spy Hunter on the other side of the poster. Now we're on to 007 Agent Under Fire. I think EA still had the Bond license at this point. This is volume 155 of April 2002. Wow, we're already at April. The centerfold here was Dinotopia. There was Dinotopia fever going on at this time. There was cartoons, I think a show, comics, all kinds of stuff. They were trying to do video games too. I was more of a Dino Riders fan. So Dinotopia kind of interested me, but I really couldn't get into it. And at the time, I want to say Blockbuster had this rental thing, but the shows were all out of order or something. I don't know. It was goofy. But there's that. There's some areas and information on Dinotopia on the back of the centerfold. Then there's another poster on the inside. This one from Titus. As you can see, Titus Games there. And on the front was Virtual Kasparov, which I'm not too sure exactly what that is, but it was for Game Boy Advance. And also for Game Boy Advance and GameCube was Top Gun Combat Zones. Another beautiful day at the office. Next volume, 156, May 2002, Spider-Man. So this was crazy. There was already Spider-Man games in the previous generation because of the hysteria of the movies. But there it is on the cover for GameCube for the Spider-Man game on it. And then there's Rayman Arena centerfold. On the back of the centerfold, Rayman Arena. They have some game modes, including there was just for Nintendo, which I guess was exclusive stuff that was on the GameCube version. And on the back, and I just freshly ripped this out of there, was a Tear Out poster, folded of Dragon Ball Z, and it's DragonBallZgamer.com. And on the back of that, or the inside, or whatever you want to call it, was advertisements for the 2 Game Boy Advance games at the time, which was Legacy of Goku and the collectible card game. It was weird that they made video games based off of card games. I guess it was because of Yu-Gi-Oh! because Yu-Gi-Oh was a card game and a video game, but yet it was a video game about the card game. And, I mean, Pokemon did it as well, and other games did it too, but it was kind of crazy. So there you go. Now we're on to, oh, I have to say a special note. I didn't take a picture of this, but I've got this noted in my blogger, pages 156 through 159 of volume 156 included Super Power Supplies 2002 Blowout Specials! Exclamation point. And this was, I believe, the end of the Super Power Supplies. I didn't see anything else like this in this year, and certainly not into 2003. If they did have catalogs going forward, it was game specific or something more specific, and not Super Power Supplies, and certainly not Super Power Club related. But just want to note that for those, eventually I will do, after I'm done with the videos of the actual volumes, I will go through all the supplemental material and also all of the Super Power Supplies catalogs and items that I bought from the catalog, t-shirts and stuff like that. We'll go over that in future videos. Lost Kingdoms was the cover for 157, June 2002. We're already halfway through the year. Minority Report, trying to again do that movie license, bruh. They want to get that Bond magic, but it never happened again. Not to the level or degree that GoldenEye did. But there was a Minority Report on GameCube. I think they also have one on Game Boy Advance too. I don't know if this one's showing off which one. I think it's the GameCube one. Anyways, on the back of that are some tips for my Minority Report on the back of the centerfold. And here is a bumper sticker. There was nothing on the back of this, so I only took a picture of the front. At least I think. I can't remember. I'll have to check here. But it's Gravity Games Bike, lowercase bike, Street, Vert, and Dirt bumper sticker here. Oh, there was something on the back here. Just a advertisement about the game, I guess. Even though they already had a page advertisement right there for it. All right, so here they come. I thought about because you'll notice in the first volume, the first volume for this year, 152, and previous volumes in the previous year, they had these big letters right here when they had Nintendo games on here. It was like, it's a hit and smash and it's here and all that stuff. But I'm not going to. I mean, they're on the cover, so you can kind of see them. This was called the exclusive E3 wrap-up, is just what I called it, because it had Mario Sunshine at the forefront, but it has a bunch of other pictures of a bunch of other games, too. Nintendo and third-party. So, blah, blah, blah. E3 wrap-up. Exclusive. Here they come. And the centerfold here, Rock Fever was going on. Scorpion King, Rise of the Acadian. And on the back of that is some tips for the game. And they started in July of 2002 in volume 158. They started another comic. These were shorter page. There was like maybe 6 pages to these, so it didn't take up a lot of space. 6 to 8. But they were describing in the first page, right back at you, the cartoon, episode 1, and then they would go into the cartoon, kind of like how they had the mini comics that were I don't want to say mini comics, they were like, not the full page comics, but they were stuffed into the binding of previous Nintendo Powers for Pokemon. And they were just basically pictures of the cartoon show, of the anime, and then they just, There you go. They did the same thing with Kirby, but they would break up the episodes. Instead of it just being one full episode, it would be, the first episode would be spread apart into 2 volumes. So the next volume will be the second part. So to avoid confusion, this is episode 1, part 1. Then when we get to the next volume, it'll be part 2, you'll see. Disney's Magical Mirror starring Mickey Mouse plus Disney's Magical Quest starring Mickey and Minnie for GBA, Game Boy Advance. So sometimes Nintendo and Nintendo Power Magazine would refer to it as GBA, and other times they would refer to it as AGB, which is Advanced Game Boy, but blah, blah, blah. So this is the cover for August 2002, volume 159. And Super Mario Sunshine with some extra goop on his face and his shoes, I guess, was the centerfold. And on the back of the centerfold, there is just some details about the game, no tips, nothing, because the game was just coming out and is like a little vacation thing, and they're showing how different it is than other Mario games, and it was. And like I said, here is episode 1, part 2. So it continues the comic. Now we actually have Super Mario Sunshine. Kirby comic exclusive. Anyways, I don't know if that was exclusive to subscribers, or I think it was in newsstand ones as well, the Kirby comic. But anyways, there's the cover for volume 160, September 2002, Super Mario Sunshine. And the centerfold, I say the, like as if there's only one. In several of these volumes, you'll see multiple centerfolds and posters. This is the centerfold for this volume, Star Wars Clone Wars. And on the back, there is info, which is centerfold style, on the back of the centerfold. And then there was a advertisement, Midway again advertising, GameCube. This picture's a little blurry, sorry. For MLB Slugfest 2002, it calls an ad card. On the back of the ad card is an advertisement for the soundtrack and music that's going to be in MLB Slugfest 2003. It's a weird thing, Dry Kill Logic. Okay, there you go. Here's the comic, which is episode 2, part 1 now. For Kirby. And the next volume is Star Fox Adventures, which is October 2002. This would be, I guess, the swan song for Rare on GameCube, because around this time, Rare was bought by Microsoft to make games exclusively for Xbox. Yeah, what a crazy time we live in. I was kind of off in my own world, but I still kept my fingers on the pulse. Everybody made it out to be like Xbox and PlayStation were way ahead of GameCube. That was not true. It was basically PlayStation 2 trounced everybody, and so the battle for second place was GameCube and Xbox. Xbox maybe had an edge here in America, but in the rest of the world, GameCube was, it was second place. But really, vying for second place was kind of like, who cares? The mind share was the Xbox was right behind PlayStation, which it was not in sales and support and actual mind share. It was kind of a joke. But anyways, GameCube was my little cube that I loved, and blah blah blah. Rare sucks. Then Robotech Battlecry. This was a great game, and TDK was getting all these licenses and doing a good job. They had the Masters Universe license. They had license for other childhood memory type stuff like Robotech Battlecry here. This is an interview that they had and some details about the game on the back. You got Roy Fokker back there, man. He's my boy. Robotech Battle Cry on the back of the centerfold there. And then here is the comic again, Kirby Right Back at You, Episode 2, Part 2. So, Metroid Prime. Yes. This issue is fat. It is gigantic, by the way. And it has a lot of stuff in it. This is November 2002, Volume 162, Metroid Prime, which had a wraparound back cover. Or, well, it wasn't wraparound, it was a fold-out cover, and I'll show you that now. So this is a cool Darth Maul thing. Figure. They're waiting. What's waiting? And then you open it up on the inside cover, and it's World Tour. I don't know. Something Crave was trying to push, and they did it in the next volume as well, so that's kind of goofy. Alrighty, so this one has 3 centerfolds in it. This is the first centerfold, which I actually have hanging up on my wall because I had an extra one from I think a GamePro or an EGM magazine. This is perforated. Like I said, all the centerfolds and posters this year were perforated. This one I did not take out of my Nintendo Power though. On the front is Godzilla Destroy All Monsters Melee. Man, get it? God damn. Oh, they thought they were clever. But this was a great game. You had to put in the code to open up all the monsters, or play the game for hours to open up all the monsters. But here's a character list of moves. This was exclusive to GameCube, but then later on they brought it to Xbox and called it something else. That happened a lot. The GameCube got shat on a lot by the industry. But screw them. The next centerfold was, whoa, Phantasy Star Online Episode 1 and 2. And on the back of that, there is basically a welcome to Phantasy Star, because this was the first Phantasy Star that was brought to a non-Sega system. And so they kind of were introducing people to, you know, all of the information and lore. They made it an offline game too, even though it was meant to be an online game originally on Dreamcast. But that's the second centerfold. In between the centerfolds is this. There was a sticker set for Kelly Slater's Pro Surfer and Matt Hoffman's Pro BMX 2. Now these, I mean, this was really capitalizing on the Activision sports, extreme sports stuff that they had. It's pretty crazy stuff. Big deal at the time. Then you have episode 3, part 1 of the Kirby cartoon turned into a comic. And then you've got another centerfold. This one from THQ. On the front is Hot Wheels Velocity, and on the back, also THQ, is Scooby-Doo Night of 100 Frights. I want to say 1,000, but it's 100 Frights. I'm editing this into the video because I forgot some things. This is the Kemco promotional comic book that came with the many other things that came in this volume. There was way too many things that came in with, I don't know if it was because they were really trying to push Metroid Prime, and then the comic or the magazine had a bunch of goodies in it to entice people to, you know, get Metroid Prime in their head, because that was all that was on the cover of that magazine. But this was other extra goodies, you know, and on top of the all the stuff that was in the magazine came bagged because it had so many goodies. Nintendo Power magazine didn't really bag the magazines a lot, unless they had a bunch of stuff that was loose and you know, a bunch of stuff that was in the magazine that they didn't want to bind all to it. So this is the bag, and it says Metroid Prime GCN, GameCube Nintendo. That was their abbreviation for, most people would say GC or NGC, but the reason why Nintendo didn't do NGC was because of the Neo Geo Pocket Color. And Game Boy Advance, most people would say GBA, but Nintendo, for whatever reason, labeled it as Advanced Game Boy when they would do their abbreviations for it. But this was Metroid Prime and Metroid Fusion, which Metroid Fusion is going to be in the next volume of Nintendo Power Magazine, because that was their big holiday push, was Metroid. And then it also says the Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past exclusive preview. That may seem weird, but that was because I believe they were making a version of it for Game Boy Advance. I mean, this was a Super Nintendo game, but and then it says free Batman comic, but it doesn't tell you that it comes with a bunch of other free stuff too in the magazine. Now, I want to say that all of this was, I mean, most of the stuff that I've already covered in this volume 162 was for subscribers, but I think I remember seeing these bagged at stores too, because they were promoting a bunch of other stuff too, like this Batman new video game. What was it? Dark Tomorrow. And along with that was this special collector's edition of Batman Part 1 of 2. Now, how you got the second one was you had to actually buy the game, and it was a miniature comic that fit inside where the instruction manual would go with the game. And the game came out on all three major platforms, GameCube, Xbox, and PlayStation 2 at the time. And I believe they had different variant covers, and there were also different variant covers of the Part 1. Now, to cover this, let's go over into Google, which I usually don't do for these kind of things, but I wanted to investigate this myself. But there was, you see, Part 1 of 2, Part 1 of 2, and then there you go. And then when you look at the game, it says exclusive limited edition comic inside, and that would be the volume 2. Which volume 2, if I could find a picture of it. Wow, now I'm not finding a picture of it, but Dark Tomorrow, let's type in 2. Yeah, there it is. But there was also variant covers for that too. So, but this is the one that I remember seeing. I don't own that one. It did not come in Nintendo Power Magazine, and that's why we're not talking about this anymore. So let's go on to the next thing that was also inserted into the bagged volume 162, which had so much stuff in it, was Backyard Football. This was a ad book from Infogrames. I want to say that the comic was like 10 to 12 pages, both of them, the Part 1 of 2 and Part 2 of 2 of the Batman comic. And then this was like only like 4 pages or something like that. Anyways, it was just a little ad book that they slipped in there. By the way, this is a full-size comic, as you can see in relation to the magazine. But the second one, of course, would be a mini comic that would slip inside the games. Less than DVD size, in other words. Okay, and then the last but best probably goodie that they put in with this magazine was the Rapidash and Ho-Oh e-card reader, Scantastic Spectacular. Now this was, a lot of times they would have these glued to these spots right here. But in this one, they were actually, I can't remember if they were glued or not, but they were inside of a bag. They were not bound into there. I mean, the magazine, this volume had 3 centerfolds in it and a bunch of other stuff. There was stickers and all kinds of stuff that was bound into the binding. So they probably didn't want to add this in there too. So this was actually separately bagged, like how like cards would come bagged. And there's that. I had forgotten to add this to the magazine, or into the video, but I'm now editing the video to put this in. I thought that this had come in another volume, but after doing research and after somebody pointed this out to me, yes, this did go in volume 162. So 162 is one of those big collector ones because it has the comics, both in the magazine and a separate comic. There was a bunch of cool ads, posters, centerfolds, these cards, stickers. There was all kinds of stuff in this magazine. So look for Metroid Prime on the cover and see if it's got all the goodies in it, and it's worth more if it's got more of the goodies. So these were e-cards, promotional cards that they gave in Nintendo Power Magazine occasionally, and yeah. And then you have Metroid Fusion, which had a tie-in with Metroid Prime, or was it Prime 2? No, it was Prime. When you connected the Game Boy Advance link cable with the game, and you beat the game, and then you get special artwork in Metroid Prime and a suit, or maybe that was, I don't know. Anyways, Metroid Fusion on the cover. Cool Link abilities that they had with the Metroid games on GameCube and Game Boy Advance. And that was also a wraparound back fold-out cover. Not a wraparound, I should say. It's a back fold-out. And they're waiting again, and it's that silly World Tour. Wow. But yeah, there's strategy guides. I'm going to be doing a video on all of strategy guides because I have all of the special issues and strategy guides for Nintendo Power Magazine as well. Before any of the posters or centerfolds in this, there is actually the part 2 of episode 3 of Kirby Right Back At Ya, the comic that's based off the cartoon that's based off the game, blah blah blah. Anyways, the first centerfold is a checklist for Animal Crossing, and it goes through the characters, not the music, not the special cards or anything like that. These were e-cards checklist from 001 to 118, as you can see here. So that was a cool centerfold. And then there was a tear-out poster, Justice League. This is another Midway thing. Midway was really pushing for Nintendo, which I really appreciate. I appreciated back then. There was Justice League Injustice for All on Game Boy Advance, and then Dr. Muto on the back. That was a tear-out folder, or folded poster. This, I don't know exactly where this was stuffed in the magazine, but this was another bagged volume, but you will see this is the front of the card, although that's just the promotional thing that's behind it. It's advertising e-cards and how they work and stuff like that for Animal Crossing. So when you had the Game Boy Advance link cable, a Game Boy Advance, and the Game Boy Advance e-card reader, and these cards, you could zip them through, get special Islander letters, and they would send you a gift. You would get patterns, you could get music, you could get designs that you could use for, you know, your shirt here. So this is this is a design card, but it's called PR. So all the other cards had a number on them, character. They had even special designs to change your appearance in the game because they didn't have a makeover or hairstylist in the first Animal Crossing game that they brought over to America, which was actually just a port of the Nintendo 64 version of it. There was actually even NES games that you could get through the cards, through the e-cards. All kinds of crazy stuff with the e-cards. The e-cards were crazy cool. But this one's called PR NES Link, which is Link holding a piece of the Triforce. And you could put that on an umbrella, on your wallpaper, on your hat, your clothes. It was crazy stuff. That was a pack-in. And it says so in the bag here. That's a Animal Crossing E collector's card. It's actually E card, but whatever, free bonus, exclusive. E-cards were a bigger deal in Japan than they were in America because Game Boy Advance was huge over there, and the e-card reader they even had a second one over in Japan that did more stuff. I don't know exactly what it all entailed, but it was a bigger deal. Animal Crossing was a bigger deal over in Japan. And then it says free DVD. Now this is, usually it was a CD-ROM or a CD soundtrack or something, but this was the first time it was a DVD, and it was a full-size DVD so that it would fit in most players, not a miniature DVD like the GameCube discs were. They've had previous ones that look like the GameCube, and then they had the disc inside. This one looks like the Platinum GameCube that has Metroid Prime sticking out of it. And then there it is. This one's my sealed one. But then I have an opened one too, because they had them at Blockbuster. They mailed them out. Nintendo mailed them out. Nintendo Power Magnet mailed them out. Other retailers mailed them out. They had them at retail shops where you could just pick them up. This was a preview disc for 2002. Yeah. In another video in the future, I'm going to go over the stuff that's contained in all of the special, either through the catalog or through being a subscriber or just in general official Nintendo released promotional material like this. So that's what the disc looked like. That's what it looks like it opened up. This is my sealed one. Blah blah. So this is the binding for these volumes in this year. On the checklist, on the text checklist on my blogger, I do specify which volumes had these. Like, it looks like Star Fox was on the beginning months, and the middle months were Mario Sunshine and Metroid Prime were the ending months. But, because these things did not always match up right, I mean, these look pretty good compared to past ones that I've had, or past bindings where they didn't line up right, because when they're printed in mass, they can't line them up perfect every time unless you get the exact ones that printed after each other, and even then that would be, I don't know. But regardless, I put it in the checklist, but you can see this one volume right here in between Star Fox Adventures and Mario Sunshine was empty, and then the last volume here is also empty, does not have Metroid. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, so that's 12 volumes there, and 2 of them did not have anything on the binding, but I think that was, not necessarily on purpose or whatever, but because of, blah blah blah. But I made a note of my bindings, which first 3 volumes, skip 1, next 4 volumes Mario, and the last 3 volumes, and then skip the last one, blah blah blah. That's what the binding looks like. I'm over describing, and you don't want to hear this anymore. So, but stay tuned for next year. I hope to do that later on this month or next month. I've been trying to do a year a month. So thanks for watching, and we will be back next time with volume 164 and continuing through the year 2003. Thanks for watching, and happy collecting out there. Good luck with your own personal collection and checklist.